status quo that make all the decisions, they're just playing musical chairs. I mean, I'm CEO of this company, now I'm CEO of that company, now I'm working as a consultant for those guys, and nobody wants to change the system. But I do think that with what Obamacare and all this healthcare reform is doing, is it's enabling like the glaciers to melt a little bit, and like there's little crevices that you can get in and do something if you're innovative and you understand the legislation. So I think that it's gonna happen, but you got to get as inside to the healthcare system as you can. I think kind of trying to like tweak around the margins of the healthcare system and see if you can get in, it's really, really hard. You know, and at the very center of the whole thing are people who pay or people who are at risk for losing stuff. And you got to get them on board. And a lot of these big companies can't innovate. So if you know, and so 2013 was the year that every company told me at Healthloop, you know, 2013 is the year that we're going to look and see what's going on out there. But 2014 is the year that we're going to place bets. So I remember thinking, I wish they were a year earlier because I wanted some bets placed last year. And what's happening is in 2014, bets are being placed. And so if you're just strategically positioned with and you have to have a product that works, that's got some demonstrable functionality. You can't go into like some big healthcare system and say, I've got this great idea. I mean, now MD Anderson and a couple of other places are opening up innovation centers, you know, to come in and try stuff, but that's really, really hard to get anything done in those places. It's like an accelerator. So, you know, if you have a product, I think that there's like lots of opportunity right now. So I think that the people in DC don't really know what to make of it, but nimble players that, you know, kind of can see the big picture and zoom in on the problem and are a little bit networked or control link in for some people that might be helpful, I think you can do it. I think it's easier than it's ever been, but it's still hard. Is there a question in the back?
Yeah, so lots of great practical advice in your presentation, thank you. I had two questions. The first one was, can you elaborate on what you meant by landmines? You had the slide on that, sort of, I'd be curious to get your perspective a little bit more on that. And then the second question that I had was a little bit more on details, but sort of important ones. You mentioned that you joined your old round with your own money when there was investment. What did you do with the money that you put into the company pre those rounds? How did you allocate that?
So let me answer the first question first. What do I mean by landmines? Is, you know, a landmine is, hey man, this guy's got this killer lawyer, you got to go meet him. Wilson Sonsini, I mean, Wilson Sonsini's great, but you know, they're super expensive. And you're going to get the juniors guy. And you know, if you don't know the right people, all of a sudden you're like $5,000 in and you're kind of just getting started and you're like, oh my God, I only had like 4,000. You know, and you know, the lawyer, it's like a landmine. I mean, it's like, they're like tar pits around that stuff, and you just need to really, you may not know that, you know, that you need to balance like finding a guy that's more of a startup guy that will work with you, maybe take a little equity. I mean, that's one. Or finding some hotshot advisor that you offer a bunch of stuff to and they don't do anything and they actually, you know, hurt you more than they help you. So I think there's like 100 landmines in the process of every step that you take. You've got to like ask yourselves, what is the biggest risk from this thing and what is the biggest benefit? And let me just like go through that mentally and try to, where does that fit into the schema? And the second question was, refresh my memory?
What did you mentioned that you co-invested.
So here's the deal. If you put money in before other qualified investors put, now, if you do a convertible note, which we did, every time I put money in, I put money on a convertible note with others. When the venture round came in, then all the people that had put money in the note, they converted together. Now we had different, you know, stages of the note. We raised $500,000 and then we needed $500,000 more, and it had different terms. And you know, I can't remember all the details, but so you know, it just converted to equity, but it converted to you know, preferred shares, not common equity. So I put enough money in this company now that, you know, even though I'm a founder, and most founders can get like screwed pretty hard when a board of people that put in a lot of money decide that they don't like that person. And then we're taking your shares away, they're not vesting. I mean, it can be really ugly. But so I kind of decided early, and having done this a few times, I wanted to be on that side of the table too, with money in it. I wanted a seat at that table, that side of the table. Not just, hey, I'm a founder, you know, hey, look at me, I deserve because you know, that only goes so far.
So you couldn't do that with like a pre-qualified investor coming in, like the initial money you did to.
No, I mean the money you put in, I mean if I put money in as a qualified investor now, it's either buying equity or it's like I could have gone alongside an equity round too and just got equity at the terms that the other people did. But when we did the big round, I was going to put money in again, even though I didn't need to. But then some other firm said, no, we want that whole allocation, and I said, well, okay, you know, fine. you can have it.
All right, guys. Last question.
Is there one more? There is. Or not.
Or we can let it go.
There it goes.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
So much.